So this is part 2 for module 3 for MAT0028, and we're going to be talking about percent equations now. And the key again is realizing that when we're doing any of these, it's percent times base equals amount. We will say if you have learned how to do this with proportions, you can use that. But we're going to follow the way the book does it, and they use equations for these problems, so they rewrite percents as decimals. So there's some key words you need to look for. The word meaning of means multiplication. The word is means equals. So what we're trying to do, again, I like to actually put it in this format right here. Percent times the whole will give me the part. The times is the of. So percent times the whole equals the part. So we're looking for those key words. So I want you to go ahead and read number 9. Again, pause it, see if you can set it up. Number 9, we're not solving. That's really important that you read carefully. Some of the problems in your homework and your test and quizzes will say just set it up. Some of them will say solve. So A says 15% of 95% is what? So again, we're going to rewrite it as a decimal. So 15% is 0.15. Of means multiply, is means equals. So in this case, that's all it asks us to do because we're not solving it. That's my equation. So if you're trying to use these and you've learned how to use these with proportions and ratios, this will actually not end up being correct because I just want you to set it up in an equation format. So reading B, what percent of 60 is 65? Look for the key words. What percent? And I actually use a different symbol for percent so that I'm clear that that's what I'm solving for. So you could use N, you could use P. Of 60 is 65. That's it. That's all they want you to do for number 9. They said do not solve, just translate. Now, I will tell you, please read the problem. They will tell you what variable to use if they want you to use one. And if you use the wrong variable, it will mark it wrong. So please read the problem carefully. So going to number 10, we are actually setting it up and solving it. So again, please pause this. Go ahead and do A and B. See if you can get it right. And then unpause and listen. Looking for keywords. 43 is 16% of what number? So 0.16 of x. That's my equation. To solve this equation, which is back from module 1, we divide both sides by 0.16. So I'm going to use my calculator in the test. So 43 divided by 0.16, press equals. So my answer here is 268.75. Now this is where you need to read it carefully. Did they ask you to round it or is it an exact piece? Going to B. 16 is, which means equals, what percent of 25? Again, I personally use X if I'm finding a number, and I use N if I'm finding a percent because I know that I need to be careful with that percent piece. So I'm going to divide both sides by 25 to get N by itself. And again, we're going to use our calculator. 16 divided by 25, press equals. This is where you got to be careful though. We get N equals 0.64, but this is why I use N. If you type 0.64 into the answer blank, it's going to mark it wrong because it asks for a percent. So remember that the equation is giving you a decimal answer of that percent. You need to rewrite it in a percent form. That's why I will suggest, and you do however you want. Maybe you make a notation beside yourself, but if you're trying to find a percent, you have to convert that answer back. All right, go ahead and read 11, try to set it up, and then press unpause and listen to me talk your way through this problem. There's a total of 61,500 cinema screens, 38.7% of the total. So of the total is the 61,500. So 38.7, and remember we move it 2 places to write it in a decimal format. So it's 0.387 of the 61,500 is how many are digital 3D screens. This tells me to round to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to pull my calculator up. 0.387 times 61,500 equals, and it says to round to the nearest whole number. So my answer here should be 23,800.5, and we are rounding to the nearest, so it's 23,801. Make sure, again, you can always double check yourself. 0.387, because it's super easy to type something into your calculator wrong, and then make sure you're rounding to the correct units if it asks for it. In this case, it doesn't make sense to give a decimal for digital screens. That's why you had to round. So go ahead and read number 12 for me. Pause it, try to set it up, and then listen to my explanation. Group plans to climb at a group rate once they save enough money. Thus far, they have 126 saved. This is 70% of the total amount. Find the total amount. We need the total amount. So the 0.70 times the total amount is 126. Another way to think about that, the 126 is part of the whole. So if you ever get confused, say which one's the part, which one's the whole. We want to find the whole. We want to find the bigger amount. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 0.70. So 126 divided by 0.70, and you don't need the 0 at the end. And it tells us they need, and this should make sense. Stop and make sure. This answer should be more than the 126 because they've only saved 126 so far. They need a total of $180. So now we're going to go to some more word problems, but I want you to realize just because I'm doing more word problems, it's still the same idea. Percent times whole equals part. If I'm talking about sales tax is the part. The commission is the part. The discount is the part. So these are actually ones that if you just stop and think about it, it should make sense. So I've also written down some of the formulas. Just stop and think about it. Okay. Sales tax will take the tax rate times the purchase price. And if you want a total purchase price, think about it. When you purchase something, you pay the amount it says on the sticker plus the sales tax. For commission, you take the commission rate times the sales. Nothing new. It's still percent times the whole equals the part. So on number 13, laptop is on sale for $4.99. Find the sales tax and the total price if the sales tax rate is 7%. So 7% times the whole, which is the price, gives me the sales tax. So in my calculator, I'm going to take 0.07 times $4.99. That gives me $34.93. So now I want, that is the sales tax, but I also want the total price. Total price says takes $499 and add the sales tax, $34.93. So I'm now going to add the $499, and that gives me $533.93. Again, I think a lot of times people overanalyze these. Stop and think about it. It does make sense. Go ahead and read 14, pause it, see if you can set it up to get the right answer. Real estate agent earns a commission of $3,210. The rate is 3%. So here's my question. Is the 3,210 the part or is it the whole? This is my commission. That is the part. I want the original selling price. That is my whole. So again, whole equals, part equals percent times whole. Now again, there's different words here, but it's still the same idea. So the 3,210 is, be careful, move it 2 places, 3% of the selling price. So we're going to take 3,210 and divide it by 0.03 in our calculator. 3,210 divided by 0.03. Stop and make sure you say, does this number make sense? Yes. The cost of the house was $107,000. The commission earned was $3,210. The commission should be smaller. So stop again if you're getting confused and say part and whole. Yes, there are formulas here that they actually will go over when you're watching the videos from the book, but it is always part equals percent times the whole. So let's look at number 15. It's simple interest. This formula you do need to memorize. Simple interest is principal times the rate times the time. So find the simple interest earned after investing principal, which is how much we invested, which is 500. 2 years is my time, and my rate is 12%. So interest equals 500 times 2. And notice I did put them in a different order, but it's multiplication. Multiplication is commutative. I can do it in either order. So I'm going to take my calculator, 500 times 2 times 0.12, and it wouldn't have mattered if you'd have done it in a different order, equals $120. So the simple interest earned after 2 years would be $120. So the last two you're going to see in this section of the idea is going to be conversions. So again, there are multiple ways to do this, but we're going to do it in the same format that they have. We're going to multiply by a conversion factor. We want to put what we want on the top and what we want to get rid of on the bottom. Another way to think of it is units that you want are on the top, units that you want to get rid of are on the bottom. So we should always make sure that our units cancel, and that's why it's important to write your units down. So convert 17 kilograms, that's what we have, and we want it to pounds. So I'm not even looking at my conversion rate right now. I know I want pounds and I want to get rid of kilograms. That's because I want these two units to cancel. So now I look over here and it says 2.2 pounds is 1 kilogram. And this is multiplication. So we're going to now take in our calculator. 17 times 2.2 divided by 1. Now dividing by 1 is just itself. So 37.4. Double check. It says round to 2 decimal places. There's no rounding on this one because we got an exact answer. It's 37.4 pounds. These units, double check, better cancel. What we get left over is what we wanted in the numerator. So going to 17, I have 29 inches. What do I want? I want centimeters. So the centimeters are going to go in the numerator, and I want to get rid of the inches. What you want, you put on the top. What you want to get rid of, you put in the denominator. So now I look over here at my units. Just don't try to memorize it. It's going to be there. So 1 inch equals 2.5 centimeters. Double check. These units better cancel. I'm left with the units that I want. So now I'm going to kick my calculator. 2.9 times 2.54 divided by 1. So I multiply across and then divide. Multiply across and then divide. So 7.5 366, I think is what we saw. Yes. Now, it tells me to round to 2 decimal places. So this answer would be wrong if you put it in there. We only want 2 decimal places. So I'm looking at that next unit. So this 6 means to round up. So my answer will be 7.37 centimeters when I'm using my rounding rules. The last 2 problems we're going to talk about for Module 3 are converting temperature. And again, this specific formula will be given to you. So please make sure you are comfortable using it for either direction of what's given to you. So 18 says convert 35 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. So please be careful again where you plug it in. I want you to pause it. Go ahead and try to simplify it for yourself. So Fahrenheit equals 1.8 times the Celsius, which is 35, plus the 32. We're now going to put it in our calculator. 1.8 times 35 and add the 32. Fahrenheit is 95 degrees. That's a reasonable answer. So going to number 19, again, pause it, see if you can solve it. Be careful because we're given the Fahrenheit. So we have 77 equals 1.8 C plus 32. At this point, you're back to Module 1, solving this equation. So we're going to subtract 32 from both sides. That should give me 45. So subtract there again. You can also use your calculator. 45 divided by 1.8. So 45 divided by 1.8 gives me 25. So my temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, which again, it actually does correspond. It is a good estimate.